Here is present irregular verbs, part 2. So as I've said in previous videos, you'll know, look for patterns. Okay, so here are some other patterns that you can look for as you're learning new verbs and how to use them. Okay, so first one is verbs that end in uir. There's a lot of these. Okay, so for example, concluir, construir, contribuir, destruir, distribuir, huir, incluir, influir, and sustituir. We got a whole bunch of those. They all follow that same pattern. So if you remember your shoe verbs or your stem changing verbs, if you don't, you can click right here on the link. If you remember those, you'll know that only certain forms of the verb get a change. And it's going to be the same with weird verbs. You're going to add a Y after the U in the yo form, the tú form, él, ella, usted, and then ellos, ellas, ustedes. So influyo, influyes, influye, those are irregular, they get that Y. Nosotros, vosotros, those don't change. Influimos, influís, and then ustedes, ellos, ellas, influyen. Okay. Next pattern that's irregular, verbs that end in iar and uar. Okay, you're going to need to add accents to these bad boys. Okay, so some verbs that end in iar and uar would be confiar, enviar, fiarse, guiar, resfriarse, variar, continuar, actuar, graduarse. These guys are all going to get an accent mark. So the iar verbs on the I, the uar verbs on the U. The only part that doesn't get an accent is nosotros, and vosotros. And let's see. The last set of irregulars are verbs that end in hir or her. Okay, so that would be like afligir, coger. Be careful of that word. It can be rather offensive in some places, but it is just means to grab or to catch. As long as you're in Spain. You can use this word in Spain, just don't use it if you go talk to your abue or something in Mexico. Dirigir, escoger, exigir, fingir, proteger, recoger. Okay. These guys, you have the letter G right here. That's going to change to a J in the yo form. So exijo, exiges, exige, exigimos, exigís, exigen. The reason you got to change it to a J is because the letter G can have two sounds in Spanish. And you want it to sound like an H sound, right? Like afligir, dirigir. When you have an O or an A after the letter G, it changes to a hard G. So if you leave this guy as a G, it would be exigo, and that's not how you say the word. You say exijo. And so in order for it to say exijo, you got to change that G to a J. Okay? The other letter that works like a G is the letter C, and you'll see some changes down the road with that one. So stay tuned. The last one is verbs that end in gir. Okay, those are going to be a little bit different than these guys. These are like a special little group. Okay, seguir, distinguir, extinguir. There's a couple others. In these guys, if you have an O or an A after it, you ditch that U. Okay, so extingo, extingues, you keep the U there. Extingue, extinguimos, extinguís, extinguen. So in the yo form, you're dropping that U. Okay. The reason is because if you keep the U, it would sound funny. It'd be extinguo, and that's weird. So extingo, extingues. Seguir would be sigo instead of siguo. It's sigo, so you get rid of the U for yo form. Distinguir, distingo. So this is your, I think, your last group of irregulars. So pay attention to those patterns and give it a shot in this practice activity right here.